Okay, so today is the 38th Adda session, and the speaker of this session is our Ranjan. So he has passed from the Vidyapeeth in 1997 and has done his MBA from Bhavan's Institute of Management Science at Kolkata. So Ranjanda, can you start your camera?
Hmm. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So welcome Ranjanda for this Adda session,
Thank you.
and
Yeah.
we are looking ahead for your views and your experience about this agriculture sector. And he's currently doing his family business in Siliguri, and he's also chairing the Agri Input Council of ASO CHM for East and Northeast India, and is associated with many ventures and startups in the agri business ecosystem, agri input skill services, IoT in agriculture, which I had also talked with Ranjanda over WhatsApp. That it was quite interesting part, and is also doing this post harvest management and branding. So first of all, Ranjan, the one thing that I would like to ask personally, that you had done MBA in marketing, and switching from marketing to agriculture,
Mhm.
uh, that would be my special attention. I
Yeah.
would like to hear that.
Uh, it's a really actually I thought of saying this in the when I start my presentation itself, but it's a very intriguing, well, like interesting questions, or many people do ask me about. I do not have any formal education in agriculture, to be very frank. But it's been my we have a family business in agri input manufacturing, so that has made me aligned to the needs of the farmers and other things from very early age, as being in the family business. But as an agriculturist, I am not. But क्या होता है ये, this is a kind of a bug when I that has actually captured my imagination or ambition, you can say, whatever it is. uh, when I went after my post graduation to join my family business, I was sent into the rural belt to have a glimpse of the projects that we can start with. And there it caught my attention that there's a lot of things that we can do. There's a lot of huge potentiality. So nothing has been done over there in this rural belt. So that what caught my attention, and my zeal, and whatever you can say, I started working on those things, and the story began from there. And it's been almost 18 years. I'm still trying to bring some changes, trying to do some changes. It's a very vast field, and but I'm thankful that somewhere down the lane, it's a social work also that we do while earning for ourselves as or for our businesses. So it's kind of a social enterprise that evolved, and it's kind of a very interesting and challenging journey, and that is what I would like to share with what my experience has have been, even though I did not have a formal education in agriculture.
Thanks, Ranjan. I think you can start with your formal presentation, and we can. And if you have any questions, we will type it in, and Aditya will take those questions, and you can answer them. Thank you.
Thank you. it's been a great thank you to the Praktani brothers to provide me this particular platform and share, learn actually, rather than sharing knowledge. I've been a part of a very few previous Praktani Addas, and a lot of things has really been interesting, and we have come across a lot of knowledge sharing and networking also. So on my part, I will try to do justice and provide you with some kind of view of what this agribusiness scenario, this agriculture projects are from the experiences that I have till date. So I think so my screen is visible.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
So to start with, before I introduce my organization or myself, anything, just want to give you a big, brief ringside view of what is actually uh, happening in the Indian agribusiness scenario rather than the world. So in India, we are looking at 4 very large pillars to unlock its $1 trillion dream economy of India. It's not by what have done in this presentation, but it is in public and policy knowledge that we all know, many of us know about. The fintech we have come across previously with Indranil and many of us sharing, which is going on its own journey. There is also the cutting edge technologies in various fields, which is going to bring India the much needed resources and knowledges and economic boom that we are all looking forward to. But what is being hidden and is truly unlocking slowly, and suddenly it has changed gears, is the agrotech and the Ayush wellness area. Why these two is, this was hidden previously, it was a kind of a soft power, but suddenly it has come out into the open because of the COVID wave. It was the only area where one of the only sectors which has given a considerable growth to the to the world economy, even when everything was in a going behind. So agriculture is roti kapra makan. Mein roti is kind of a need of the everybody. So we do not see a kind of a degrowth or kind of recession in the agriculture sector. But yes, the wars that is breaking up in Ukraine and Russia, where the Ukraine is considered the breadbasket and other thing, it has really created a huge opportunities for Indians to actually tap into the global market in many of the agriculture commodities. Now, agriculture, truly speaking, is one big word. It comprises of many fields, and as you can see, it's agriculture, horticulture, spices. There is a plantation crop, sericulture. Pisciculture is fish. Sericulture is silkworm, and veterinary sciences is there, like animal husbandry, another thing. And there's another very big area which very few of us know, is the maps. That is the medicinal and aromatic plants. So all this together are providing a lot of industry related activities also. There's a lot of value chain development which is taking place in each of these sector. India is basically an agrarian economy, though currently the service sector and the industry is booming up, but still 60%, almost 60% of the Indian population derive their earning from directly or indirectly from the agribusiness sector, agriculture sector. So it's a huge area where we, the rural sector, which contributes to everything that we have today when we sit together to eat our breakfast to dinner. So it's a big thing, supply chain going behind. And this area that we are looking at is agribusiness, agri-tech, precision farming currently, which is a very new thing for many. of us, but this is where we are looking forward because of the climate change, uh, because of the water scarcity, because of a lot of issues coming up. So we are looking forward to precision farming in a big way. The value addition is what, after post harvest, the value that we add on to the produce to put it like to create the, to bring it to the consumer. So that is the value addition that we, from packaging, from sorting, whatever you say, or to processing industry also. So the processing sector is one big area, from tea, रोज के चाय जो हम लोग पीते हैं, या आप कुछ भी बोल दो, whatever chutney, achar, whatever this processing sector, from fish, meat, dairy, everything comes under the processing sector. So this is one big area where employment generation will take place in future, as well as investment coming in. Agri-tourism and wellness sector is picking up in a very big way, specifically with Ayush, Ayurveda, Unani, and other things coming up or being accepted by the public in a very organized way, like the pharmaceutical industry. So what we are looking at over here is almost, in global perspective, it's a $7 trillion economic powerhouse that this particular four things, fintech, agrotech, Ayush, wellness, and cutting edge, together can tap into, where agrotech and Ayush wellness is considering to be having a very huge, soft but slow and steady return on investments and their scope. So if you look at the current landscape, what's happening actually, why I'm sharing this is basically to show you what are the, many of us actually wants to come into the agriculture sector, whether we are working, whether we are having our own land, or, but we do not have the time to actually delve into the agribusiness sector, or even though we have interest, we do not know how to do it. So there are a lot of things that many of us wants to actually go into agribusiness or be in touch with the agriculture sector. But how do we go into, or how do we become a stakeholders in this? So considering this particular things, that is the scope that agri sector can provide, we have to know what is the current scenario that we are looking at. So on one end, there are many like us, or advanced connected people, who think that if we can use IT solutions and satellite drones and other things, we can create a very good business scope. Similarly, there are financial institutions like banks, credit linkages, which is still having a huge scope of penetration. Still, there is, people are still dependent on the Mahajans and other money lenders, the farmers, and the credit linkages are still in a very not in a very considerable way that they have penetrated in the urban landscape. The agronomists and data scientists are still sitting in their or they are not well connected to the farmers, to be rather sitting. I will say they are not well connected because there are the bridges are not there. The agri-input enterprises have many new age solutions are there, but how do they connect to the farmers? And at the end of the day, they have to go through the standard retail chain like distributor, dealer, retailer, where again the farmers don't get benefit. How at the least possible cost they can connect to the farmers. So there is a disconnection over there also. So government and social development agencies are trying to bridge these gaps through various schemes and programs and CSA activities. There are other agribusiness ventures. What we were talking about is the value chain development and the processing sectors, how they can create the procurement channel for the farmers and the growers. So there is a lot of disconnection which is already there, and there is a lot of scope that the IT industry is trying to bridge this particular disconnection. But then also we find that it's not happening in the way that it should happen. Now, based on these things, these are challenges and these are also opportunities. And how we can overcome these challenges and make it an opportunity is where the business is there or where the unlocking of value can take place. So and this is being slowly done through various policy changes, various initiatives of the private as well as the government sectors and the social sectors together to bring value. And herein, even though we do not have a formal education in agriculture, we may not have direct stakeholding as a landowner, we may not have be a part of any agribusiness solution, but if we want to be a part of this particular sector, we can be, if we try to bridge any of these gaps. So as many of you are well aware that there has been a huge uproar when the government of India tried to change certain laws and legal framework of the APMC Act, and the agriculture law was brought in September 2020 in the parliament. It was thought and done with a very positive mindset, but the implementations, there was a lot of gaps in the implementation scope, which was highlighted by the opposition to derail the movement. But in and all, if you look at the basically the parliament, the government, what they wanted to do was to actually unlock the value which is being not utilized to its true potential, and also create employment opportunities. In order to do that, there were a lot of laws, old laws, which were creating a lot of hurdles in the systems. So those laws were tried to be changed, where the government tried to change. And there they, more than the farmers, the aggregators numbers are more. The number of farmers may be 10, the aggregators may be 20. So that was a power of the aggregators or the adatiyas or the middlemen or the mandiwalas, whatever you say. That is a huge, strong hold that the whole agribusiness sector cannot untangle from. So that is where it failed, but government had made other provisions simultaneously so that it can be bypassed. So the second will focus on crop price assurances, which is, I do not actually, to be very frank, I do not support the MSP things, but anyway, it gives a kind of a respite to the farmers that if there is a fire sale happening, so they can get reprieve from using the MSP crop minimum support prices. So, but anyway, that is one thing where a lot of discussion and debates are happening every day. The third bill was introduced as an amendment to the Essential Commodities Act, which deregulated the bulk commodity storage. Like storage means in most of the time, if you can, it's kind of a hoarding which takes place when there is always when there is a shortage of a commodity, or there is a kind of a natural calamity or anything which takes place, and there is always a storage of by the middleman, and which creates hoarding and price rise. So, but at the end of the day, all these three reform bills together was focused on creating a new supply chain management other than the mandi-based ecosystem, with emphasis on creating modern storage facilities and silos. So this is where one of the biggest thing was planned by the government to do, but even though it failed, there's already a channel which is being done through agriculture infrastructure funds and other funds, which has been put into a different way of so that the infrastructure can start happening, infrastructure modernization or development can start happening. There was a promotion, there is also a promotion of farmer producer organization, FPOs, throughout India. Many of you may be aware of this. There's a 10,000 FPO promotion scheme, the central sector scheme, which is giving rise to cluster-based approach for resource penetration and unlocking value. It is very tough for the farmers to actually access the market. Even a single farmer, if he has having 10 hectare or 20 hectare land, leave the small and marginal farmers. So what they are doing is actually creating cluster-based approach, like 100 farmers, 1,000 farmers, 2,000 farmers together. When they come together, then there is a huge kind of commodity which they can put it into the market, and there is always a strong negotiation power when the farmers come together. So that is where the FPO promotions is taking place, and it's one of the it's a flagship program under the current government. The sustainable, eco-friendly, natural, organic farming promotion with focus on carbon sequestration for carbon trading and proper use of animal resources for integrating farming system. This is another area which the bills or the government government policies try to focus on. The carbon sequestrations, as many of you may know, that it is the because of the climate change, because of the greenhouse gases emissions and other thing, there's a carbon footprints already, which many of the major industrial activities have. So it is and agriculture is one of the third or fourth most polluting activity when we consider intensive agriculture and animal farming together. So to reduce carbon footprints and create carbon sequestration model, and we can tap into the carbon trading market, which is globally one of the most lucrative market today, and India has stopped exporting its carbon to the international market because Indian government is focused on retaining the carbon which is being captured by the many of the activities, and then trading it in a different platform together. So there's a lot of things happening in the carbon trading platform within the Indian government policy network, and organic farming, natural farming, encouragement of such activities is boosting this policy initiative by the government. So this focused reform bills which the government wanted to bring is actually increasing the opportunity of the various industry and the farmer-based entrepreneurship in the market. Yes. So as I was saying that how one can enter this particular opportunity which the Indian agribusiness scenario is slowly unlocking itself. And what are the increasing opportunities for tech-driven starters? Many of us are into the tech area. Many of us are into having land. How do we use tech? How do we actually walk into this projects? So in this particular tech driven say there's a high internet penetration which is already there with 5G and 4G rollout by the internet companies. So many of the in the rural network, rural areas, we see many youngsters having smartphones. So how can we use applications to actually tap into their knowledge and tap into this network and provide information or knowledge or kind of services so that it can create certain kind of value for the stakeholders. So there are a lot of things like pest and disease related information is there. There is a water table, like you can analyze your whether there is drinking water in that particular area or not through satellite mapping. There is soil analysis which can be done. So there are a lot of tech companies coming up with a lot of satellite-based and drone-based technology which the farmers can use using as they are already having the internet penetration in the villages. Now the tech awareness amongst the younger generation, as I have pointed out previously, is quite high, but they are mostly into Instagram and Facebook. Let us, if we can provide provide much better opportunities into how to actually encash their parents' business into better profitability. So I think so there's a lot of opportunity in that also. Government support and initiative for tech-driven projects and scheme. Many of us are aware of this, and a lot of startups are coming up. India was third largest recipient in agri-tech funding next to US and Germany. Unlike the West Indian, I have written, sorry, there should be a comma. Unlike the West, Indian agriculture has poor adaptability of tech in farming. It's a reality check. Like there are many tech companies coming up, but they are not able to break even. The basic thing is we are not actually a tech-driven economy farmers, or we are basically we do not know what to use. We are just trying to capture the data. We are not doing much more than that. So if you want to the tech driven like the tech companies to have a good return on their investments in the Indian agriculture business, I think so it will take some time. But the West, where the manpower cost is quite high, they have actually adopted tech in a very big. So until there is a manpower cost, yes, the manpower cost is coming up, and there is a scarcity in the manpower, and Indian economy will also go towards that. But there is a gestation period which we all have to give it to it. And but the West, since the manpower costs are quite high, so they are more into using the tech to analyze, to diagnose, to use tech, so that their agribusiness or the farming or whatever they are doing are to the best possible way they can actually get the results or intervene to reduce their expenses or damages. As agriculture is termed to be the backbone of the Indian economy, new entrant or existing stakeholders can open to multiple opportunities in this sector. Like many of our Praktani brothers, we are actually at a very young age, we were introduced to gardening. So whether we know farming or agriculture or not, during our school days, we were doing gardening as a daily course, as a responsibility that was given. So subconsciously, we were actually, even though we think that we do not know, but subconsciously, there's a lot of things that we know. And when we start putting this into practice, you will find out that many of us know a lot of things that, and it tend to attract us also into this kind of activity. So, sorry, excuse me. This is the last slide. I will not take because much time, and after that we'll go for the discussion and how well we can actually work out with agri business and opportunities. The helping to digitize the whole supply chain is one big opportunity which is coming. The supply chain over here means logistics, cold chain, everything, even the cold rooms and cold chain, which is a very huge gap which is there. And how can we actually map, digitize this whole thing? As the shelf life of the agri commodities, all the majority of the agriculture and horticulture products, specifically vegetables and other things, is very less. So if we can digitize the whole supply chain, we can actually know where our commodity or goods is and how long it will take, what are the damage it can happen. We can actually reduce a lot of damage which in the pipeline which happens currently. Adapt to using new technologies such as artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, IoT, big data analytics, and advanced engineering techniques to unlock or bring value in the system, which I have given a brief note previously. Regulatory changes has been done keeping in mind the changing needs of the farmers, consumers, the value chain demand. I had discussed about the opportunities when the why the laws were actually introduced in the parliament, considering this particular gaps which is existing, how to overcome those gaps, the laws were introduced. Rising investments, availability of funds like Agriculture Infrastructure Fund, AIF stands for AIF. There's a lakhs of crores of rupees, in thousands of crores of rupees are there, and which is being managed by NABARD on behalf of the Government of India. And there are key organizations who have been entrusted to support the farmers' initiative or entrepreneurs so that they can tap into the AIF funding at a very affordable interest rate. So the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund is currently available at 6% interest when it is a infrastructure related projects. And there are, if you can look, if you can just type Agriculture Infrastructure Fund in the Google, you will come to know a lot of things. There's a startup ecosystem, there's the venture capital funds, etc., causing significant disruptions in the Indian agriculture sector. So increased demand of sustainable solutions in farm inputs, biological interventions and improved farming practices and integrated approach is what we are looking at in the short term itself. Like previously, we are all more or less accustomed to using chemical fertilizers and chemical pesticides. But now, currently, the biological solutions and advancement in our science into tapping the Vriksha Ayurveda knowledge system has given us a huge scope of knowing what even the plants, botanical insecticides, biological solutions like both fungi and bacteria can be used to actually save our crops from both pathogenic bacteria and pathogens which cause huge amount of crop damage by not using chemicals. So there's a huge scope which we are looking at in the agri input, supply chain, services, agriculture skilling, upskilling, post-harvest management, value chain development, everything. There's a huge scope. Where we want to be and how we want to be is the question that we need to answer. And based on our strength, based on our locational advantage, based on our accessibility, we have to plan it how we can work out in the coming days if we want to enter this particular sector. So with this, I actually open this this session to discussion and and want to know if any of you have any queries or how can I add or provide my support to any of you in terms of knowledge support.
Yeah, Ranjanda, thank you for this knowledge. Actually, Satyam Bhaiya has raised one question that what he feels that a lot of agri businesses remain profitable for small businesses only due to subsidies. So, how much potential does agri business actually has without government support? And this is actually quite a big problem in our country. So, if you can enlighten us on this.
See, subsidy, uh, see, there are various types of subsidy. There's a subsidy which the farmers gets, like in terms of production of farming produces as a MSP or agriculture input subsidy is there. So it is not that, but it does not mean that the farmers want to enjoy those subsidy and that is why they are doing this particular farming. It is more about accessing market. Marketing is one of the most important part. If you have a structured, if you have access to a right market or the market, then you do not need subsidy. Subsidy comes later. Subsidy is there because of the poor. Like if you look at the global perspective, the European Union and the Western countries give more subsidies to their farmers than what India is giving. It is only because to penetrate, to capture markets with the least amount. But today, this subsidy is kind of being used as more as a vote bank rather than real kind of a subsidy which the farmers need. If you can create market rather than investing this amount of subsidies for the farmers, then I think so that will give a more return. And secondly, the subsidy in agri input, specifically in chemical fertilizers and fertilizers market is huge. And over here now government is coming up with nano formulations of urea, nano formulations of DAP, nano formulations of many or mixture grade fertilizers and other things where there is no subsidy, and farmers are adapting to those because that cost less, and it is easy to apply and it doesn't damage the soil. So one need to understand why the subsidy is required. It is basically right now the subsidy is being used as a vote bank rather than the real scenario, and we have to create more accessibility to market. The European Union doesn't want us to access their market. The China doesn't want us to access their market. So there is a lot of fighting. Even India doesn't want others to get their market. So if we can, it is more, the success of a business is more into marketing rather than into subsidy.
Thank you. Rather, just adding to that. So, so the FPO program, is it completely driven by subsidies, or there is more into it?
Good, very good question. The FPO program is not driven by success to provide subsidy. It is to provide voice. It is to provide accessibility. It is to provide market. Now, if you look at the current scenario, the farmers are not able to tap the market because they are alone. They are single person. If you also want to tap into a particular market, it is a very huge effort. Anything that you do. But if you do it in a collective way, that is why we have industrial parks. That is why we have biotech parks and other things, because there are a lot of support structure which is there within those parks. Accessibility is there, offices is there, similar kind of industry is there. So you can secure your products. You can easily provide your market access to market is there. So similarly, the FPO model has been done based on district and the block. Each and every block in India, the current scheme entails that there will be 10,000 model FPO will be promoted in India with focus on one or two crops. Not all the, each and every FPO will select two crops from their own block where they are working or they are being established, and they will try to create a market on those two crops for the system, and also the value chain for the product that they are growing. So collectively, when these FPOs are being done, there are over 1,000 to 2,000 farmers. They are coming together, growing, say, for example, paddy, aromatic paddy like Govindabhog, or say any kind of other, like in Bihar, we have Katarni rice. So if we can actually create such kind of clusters where this particular crop is being grown, and then those crop is being, people do not know where to get this particular quality rice. They go into the market, they do not know whether where I am buying a Govindabhog, whether it is an original Govindabhog or duplicate, I do not know. So whether it is a right Katarni rice or not, we do not know. So FPOs are being created to create their own branding, market linkages, value chain development, infrastructure, processing aids, and here the government is providing subsidy, interest subvention, and agriculture industry related subsidy through agriculture infrastructure. So it is more into creating value for the farmers at the field level, where they can actually enjoy the, rather than just selling their produce from the field, they can create value of the produce and get more revenue out of their farm produces and retain the maximum amount of value that they are creating for themselves and the rural economy can develop thereby. So the FPO model is a very unique model, and I think so. If it is successful, can change the rural economic scenario.
In practice, has it been successful so far?
If you look at the scheme was launched in 2019, and previously when NABARD initiated this project in the early phase, it was a huge failure. The huge failure means they lakhs and crores of rupees were invested to promote FPOs, and out of that, only 5% maximum may be a success story. The reason being, and later on, based on those analysis, the 2019 scheme was launched. The reason is farmers does not know business. They do not understand business at all. And they are more oriented towards growing crops than doing commercial transaction or negotiating with their buyers or sellers. So the first scheme failed considerably because the scheme was directed to make farmers a businessman or mandiwala. So it did not happen. And later on, after this case study was done, they incorporated cluster-based business organization or middle social organization into the stream who is having strong business knowledge. So they are helping the farmers to create the FPOs under either the cooperative sector or under the Companies Act. And the regulatory part, the compliance part, the responsibility is with the CBBO, the hand-holding training, creating the DPR, everything is with the CBBO. The farmers are only engaged in their farming practices. They are being appointed a CEO and a FPO, and what they want at the end of the day is being made in their business plan. Now the FPO is generating value and money, which is being retained for their own development. The CBBO is giving an additional service cost for their involvement, and the relationship is for 5 years. And the CBBO is trying to connect it with their various stakeholders in the market, like ITC, it may be Big Basket or whatever it is. They're huge. Reliance is there, Billas are there. You have Walmart, you have Flipkart, you have Amazon. So all these responsibilities are coming up given to the CBBO to connect with the market, to do the credit linkages, to negotiate on behalf of the FPOs. And there are milestones and there are grading and there are regular checks whether how many successes. And on the basis of success ratio, the CBBOs are given more work. Like the first stage is for 25 FPOs. Then it goes to, if their success ratio is very high, they are given additional 25 FPOs. So like this, if a CBBO is performing, automatically his scope of promoting more FPOs is also going up. So, and the availability is coming up. So in terms of that, it's a win-win situation for everybody. The farmers are winning because they do not have to take care of the compliances because they are very poor in compliances, because that's and also the businesses. So in the second scheme, I think so it will be a success, and it is a success story which is yet to happen because it just launched in 2019, and during the COVID period it did not pick up. So it started picking up from the end of 2021-22 onwards. So we are looking at this story to unwrap or unravel in the near future. What is happening? But yes, there's a success ratio is quite high in comparison to the previous one. I have one question from the backup that, can you discuss low-cost food processing which a small farmer can do to add more value to his crops and get higher income, especially for major crops in eastern region? major crops in eastern region is basically paddy, potato. You have vegetables are there. A lot of many vegetables are there. We have fruit crops are there. So I will just say one small farmers can do to add more value to his crops is simply by sorting, grading, and packing. If these three things we can do anything, for a paddy grower, it is sorting, grading, and packing is not available possible. So what they can do is to create value by either adapting to a certain kind of paddy which is giving higher yield, or certain kind of paddy which is having a higher demand. Like aromatic paddy, if they can be having a higher demand, you can start growing that. Or if you have a higher yield, then you can grow that. And tying up with a particular rice rice processing unit, and you can have your own paddy dehusked, and you can brand it and sell it. But it's again a very small farmers are not able to do this because they do not have the kind of leverage like when you are going for with a cluster approach or a large farmer. So it's better that small farmers can go into like FPO. They can participate in the FPO programs, and they can easily benefit from such initiatives. It's a very broad questions, and agriculture is such a vast subject. It's not possible to provide very correct answers by anyone who is not very accustomed to such kind of specialized area. Any more question?
Ranjan, I think there is a question. If you see, it says, Dada, are we undergoing climate change? As we are undergoing climate change, how can we expect the small farmers to cope up with this? Is there any insurance by government for the crop loss due to climate change?
Yes, very, very, very important question. Yes, we are going through a climate change. And this climate change is much more visible when we are actually into sensitive areas like the northeastern states. Because of the geographical positions and other sensitive areas, this changes, whatever climate change is bringing, we can easily find it out. Very small example, let us take into account the Darjeeling tea estates. Like previously, we could find a prolonged winter, and because of the winter and because of the cold region, the flavors of the Darjeeling tea is to remain intact, because it was not in heat. When the temperature goes up, any volatile substance like the flavors or the aroma tend to evaporate. So because of the cold region, the flavors used to, or the aroma used to be there within the plant, captured within the plant's leaf system itself. So when the temperature started rising up suddenly because of the global warming, because of the climate change, we find there's a huge dip in quality of Darjeeling tea. And this is very true because being associated with the tea industry, so the price realization of the tea industry is coming down considerably. There is a lot of mortality of plants happening because of cold weather, because of the rise in temperature, or uneven rainfall which is taking place. So there is a lot of things which has changed. As a normal person also, we can find out that previously we used to feel we used to have rain in the month, from the month of June end to July, August, September. Now the rains are coming at in the month of August, September, October. It has considerably delayed. So even the temperatures are going up considerably. So it is not that climate change is happening or when it is happening, it is already happening, and it's happening in a drastic way. So as a small farmers, we do not see, farmers or any of us cannot control weather or climate. What we can do is we are actually try to adapt our crop cycle, our plantation practices to the changing scenario which is happening. We can go for early variety, we can go for late variety, we can check the variety suitable to particular changes happening. One such example came up when जो क्या बोलते हैं इसको, मटर होता है ना, this beans, no, what do you say to matar? Green peas. Green peas, actually, the plants were planted. It's a very good quality seed. And when the flowering started and when the pods came out, there was no peas inside the pod. So it happened in part of Bengal only. And there were hundreds and thousands of acres of land in the district where the peas were growing in a big way. And the pig got, the seed company has to provide damage. The only difference was why? Because the variety that they choose was a late variety and they planted it early. And considering the agroclimatic situation, they did not adjust it to the requirement of the plant. So anything can happen because we do not control. That is why we are going for precision farming, greenhouse farming, and other thing, where a lot of control can be done. And we can actually create our own micro environment in that particular small area. So as a small farmers, we have very limited leverage if we wanted to take or control climate changes. But what we can do is just to adapt to the changes by selecting better variety of seeds or right variety of seeds and right plants, so that and plant it accordingly to the seasonal changes which is happening.
Ranjan, I have a query. Sanjeev
Yes.
Sinha,
Yes,
92
yes.
batch.
Okay then.
There is one trend of people who have migrated to cities and they have land in their villages,
Yes, yes,
ancestral land.
yes,
So the usual practice is to have sharecroppers till their land.
yes, yes.
And what they do is they don't do any investment in terms of either providing tools for agriculture or providing seeds or fertilizers or anything. So the owner of the land doesn't normally want to do any input costs, do not provide any resources, and everything is left to the person who is doing the sharecropping.
Yes.
As such, the land is not properly utilized. All the risk lies with the sharecropper. So, can you suggest few ways in which win-win can be done for people who are in the cities and their lands are in the villages? So, what are some of the things that the owner can do for their sharecroppers so that they also become a bit wealthier, and the owner also earns some good food from that place? And the second part of this is, I visited a village, and one common complaint that I have heard from those people is the sharecropper does that work, the whole family gets involved, but their elder son or some of the family members, male members, migrate to cities like Delhi and Bombay and other places for daily wages work, or in a factory where they earn not more than 10,000 or 8,000 a month take home after all the expenses. So whenever I have visited those places, they have requested, Babu, कुछ ऐसा करो कि आसपास कहीं नौकरी मिल जाए इसको. So there are two things I am asking. What are some of the things that their own children can get employed in their own land? I mean, the land they are doing sharecropping. And the second is, what can the owner do so that the income of the sharecropper increases?
Thank you. Very nice question. And I would like to answer it in a different way. If you are giving permission, like, see, first and foremost, the people who have got migrated or people who are having their own land in the farm, in their villages, uh, tend to not utilize the agriculture income scope which is provided under the Income Tax Act. So if you tend to look at the tax regime together properly, you will see a lot of benefits if you are a farmer and if you are earning your money from the farming resources. So if you are, why I'm saying this thing is because that will bring an added interest, because that's a tax-free earning that you will do. So that is where you can save a lot of taxes also. What you are paying when you are earning from your at your in your cities, or you can have an additional disposable income with yourself. So this will, when you are having an additional sources of income or additional disposable income scope, by utilizing the opportunity or the scope given in the IT Act, you will find you will find a kind of energy to invest some amount of your valuable time, energy or money that you will be saving back into the villages or into the system that you are trying to change or trying to bring value into those farmers. So if you can recover some kind of money by using the 6R forms, which is from the mandi or wherever the farmers are selling, you can tell them to use your name so that you can earn kind of a tax free income tax, like free earning, free taxation, tax exempted earning to the tune of almost 40 lakhs without paying any kind of without any major documentation that you have to provide. So you can, if you can save that particular money, you can plug that money back into the system with the farmers. Secondly, if you are not using this particular opportunity also, there are a lot of scopes which is there within the system. If you have time, when you go back into the your village or you from where you are coming from, and go and speak to the agriculture block office, the agriculture district assistant director of agriculture, or the block ADA, or the deputy director of agriculture, you will find there's a lot of support structures which is already there for both the sharecroppers or the landowners. There are many schemes which is there. So if you can involve yourself into one such scheme or create such kind of a projects within your village, where there is employment opportunity as well as there is kind of value addition which is taking place, so they tend to get engaged into it. You have to involve them into some kind of activity rather than standard activity of farming only. So like say for example, you have the department is giving micro irrigation support system, drip irrigation support system. They are giving solar pump sets. So once they are giving greenhouse subsidy and greenhouse creation without any, you just need to give GST for the project cost. Nothing else. No contribution is coming from your end. So as a owner of the land, if you take this opportunity and tell the sharecropper that this is your target and this is where I want things to be. If you include a kind of advancement in your farming product thing, then automatically you will find the next generation of farmers in the villages coming into, because they do not want to spoil their skin, or they do not want to enter farming, do not want to go into the mud cycle what their parents are there. 3 महीना तक काम करेगा, 10,000 रुपया 20,000 रुपया घर पे लेके आएगा. इससे बेटर है हम 1 महीना काम करेंगे, 10,000 रुपया लेके आएंगे, and without spending myself in the sun, hot sun. So if you do not create value at the ground level, the next generation is not going to come in. So you have to create value, and that is where I think so most of the migration is also happening, because the next generation doesn't want to come in, and there's a huge labor crisis that we are all seeing in the rural belt. So it is my, there is a lot of things that you have to do, but I think so most important thing is the investment of time. So I can give you a lot of ideas, but how much time you can invest to actually get this thing working in the field, a lot depends upon you also. And I will rather say one thing very frankly. Use the agriculture farming income exemption, and you will find a lot of interest in that, and automatically you will spend more time into it, because you tend to earn real money by just showing agriculture income without paying any taxes. So that amount, I think so you can plug it into your farmland or villages where you are there, you can create a lot of values into that.
Okay, thank you, Ranjan. And what you say finally is one point, very pertinent point, is the question of absentee landlord. So जो माली नहीं है तो बगान कैसा चलेगा, तो that kind of ownership नहीं रहता है, तो that वो उस तरह के effort नहीं हो पाते हैं, दूर से distance से manage करना लोगों के लिए दिक्कत होता है. Got it.
Thank you.
So, do we have any more queries?
I think so. I have crossed the time limit also.
Yes.
1 hour.
So, thank you, Ranjan, for all this information and sharing your experience with us. I would like to thank you from all the Praktani members.
I hope I can, with my